La noche se acabó, pero tengo otra ya contigo. Le doy gracias a Dios, siempre pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Siempre lo pasamos bien lindo, lindo. Un verano contigo lindo, lindo. Ey. Me fui de vacaciones, baby, me perdí, buscando el sabor que encontré en ti. Canela con dolor de Bacardi, lo sentí. Baby, me tiene desenfocado, viendo doble, bien borracho, demasiado jodido. Contigo, pasándome contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama. Tú y yo, un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito, bonito, un día bonito, bonito. Pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot pa' ti, un shot pa' mí, un shot.
Hello, everybody. Ooh. Sorry, I think I accidentally started the music again. Give me 1 sec. See what's happening here. Okay. I think that is good now. Can everyone hear me okay? Or are we still have... Okay, I think everyone can hear me now, right? I'm getting a little bit of echo. But okay. Okay, you can hear me. Fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy to be back. FYI, so a bunch of me and my friends who are in the creative space, we're actually doing a 100-day challenge where we push ourselves to be more creative, kind of more on top of our online content. So I know I have been very absent and right, I do have a lot of things, going on in the background outside of this podcast, but I hate that I feel like I'm neglecting it or kind of using certain things I wouldn't even say as an excuse, but kind of allowing them to take away from my time on this podcast. So we had a conversation this morning and it's going to be part of my kind of like wider creative goals to just like be more accountable and show up more. So we're going to see. No, I am going to do, the aim is to do 100 days of showing up as a content creator. So that is the goal that I'm working towards. Just showing up more and not kind of like using life's excuses as an excuse. Okay, with my little TED talk out of the way. Basically, I'm gonna do my best to show up more on this podcast because I feel like you feel neglected and even I feel like I'm being neglectful. All right, quite a bit has happened since I've been away. Palace Press Wars, fools out here having affairs. Let me tell you, in this social media, digital media age, like, you are seriously playing with fire. I wouldn't risk it in a public area and at a whole concert. Oh my God. Anyway, we're going to get into all of that and a couple of other things. Let's start with no, we're going to start with Meghan. So as ever, wines have been arriving. We've seen her send, gift baskets to her friends. People have, the so-called experts, they've tasted it, and even the ones who wanted to be haters liked it. And it's, arriving now at people's, well, it's been arriving, but people are still kind of getting their orders now. I saw one person that had so many cases. I'm like, you preparing for war, like stacking all of the as ever wine for war? But no, it has been getting glowing reviews, even from people who aren't necessarily just, fans of Harry and Meghan. And the potential for the As Ever brand is just insane. I mean, just with the wine, restaurants, wholesale, clubs, with the As Ever, jams and that kind of stuff. There's potential for, somebody mentioned, the mini jars that you get when I don't know, you're on like a luxury flight, all of those products and produce, they're all contracted. So there's just so much potential for this brand to grow beyond just selling the product online on the As Ever website. We haven't even got into wholesaling yet. We haven't even got into international yet. So yeah, I hope they're really working hard in the background to increase production because people are very, very eager to get the As Ever products. Abigail Spencer, friend of Meghan's, who we now know was being stalked by Kate's former wardrobe person, allegedly for the lawyers listening. At least she was following that account was following many of Meghan's friends, including Abigail Spencer, who posted this. Travel outfit. She's out and about. Don't know where she's going, but she's wearing the Archwell cap. Now, I've seen a couple of people with Archwell, logoed items, and I'm just wondering, when are we getting the Archwell merchandise? When are we getting it? Because we're ready to buy it. Hello. But great to see Abigail supporting her friend in a quite subtle way, because she doesn't say Archwell in the post. She doesn't tag Meghan in the post. But friends supporting friends, we love to see it. Also, With Love Meghan season 2 is on the way. It's already been recorded. But With Love Meghan season 1 did phenomenally well. Phenomenally well. There was ridiculous articles, as usual, about With Love Meghan not doing very well because it ranked something like 383. But that was out of over 7,000 shows in Netflix first half of 2025. So it's in the top 5.5% of all ranked shows by viewership. Even Gork isn't about to lie about this. Whereas, Channel 4's documentary, Camilla, the Wicked Stepmother, back in 2024, drew just under 1 million viewers. And you can bet it's because it was about Camilla being the wicked stepmother. It was marketed as an anti-Camilla documentary. Prince William, they asked Gork, where did the documentary Prince William We can end homelessness rank on the Disney streaming chart. Also, what was the viewership and how did this rank? Gork said the documentary did not appear on Disney Plus top streaming charts, indicating low popularity. No public viewership figures for Disney Plus, but it's listed as a 2024 flop. On ITV, airing episode 1 drew 1.5 million, below episode 2, 1.2 million. I mean, those figures aren't exactly terrible, but nowhere near what Harry and Meghan's shows have been ranking, and hardly anything that's going to make William a so-called global statesman. People just really aren't that interested. And it's interesting that they took it to Disney Plus because they need the reach. They need the wider reach. I thought streaming was too Hollywood and not for royalty. Okay, next thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, I'll go to your comments and then we'll get on to Charles because this is interesting. This has come out of completely nowhere. If you're just coming into the chat, happy Sunday. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button, please. Claudia, the wine is a moneymaker. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Valerie. Happy Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the day. It was gorgeous today, wasn't it? It was awful yesterday, Valerie. I looked out the house and it looked like real Voldemort was about to come out the sky. It was so dark. It's Grok, not Gork. I'm going to call it Gork just to annoy Elon. The same way I still call Twitter Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Okay, let's get on to Charles. Well, this was a surprise. And I have to just guess this is palace infighting because a random article about Charles being a bully and bullying his gardeners. This is just so completely random. Where did this even come from? And why now? Let me just, this is actually behind a paywall. So let me just remove the paywall and then let's have a read of this. This is exactly the game that Harry didn't want to play, going back and forth and arguing and briefing against each other. So, King Charles, the disquiet at Highgrove and the gardener's exodus. I mean, this is probably the bottom of the pile of whatever controversies are happening behind the scenes in the palace. They picked the lamest thing, Charles yelling at the gardeners. Memos fired off by the monarch to correct grammar and demand single flowers be moved are wrecking morale among staff who was paid as little as minimum wage. These are the same people who called Meghan a bully and were mad about the fact that she gets up at 5 a.m. to send emails. King's demands, staff shortages, and low pay led to gardener exodus. Oh dear. Not a gardener exodus. Nice to know where our taxpayer money is going, all those gardeners. Royal Charity, which runs gardens, told to offer mental health support after a formal investigation. They were bullied so bad, they had to be given mental health support. We know who the real bullies are and who the real bullies have always been. Funny, we didn't hear about any of this while Meghan was being called a bully. Charles has lost 11 out of 12 garden staff since 2022, including 2 head gardeners who quit within a year. I mean, how bad must the bullying be when you're a gardener? So you're outside, technically just outside the palace. You're not like working directly with them. You're just gardening. So what more, the butlers, the people who work in-house, what's going on with them? Monarch said of one worker, "Don't put that man in front of me again." Oh gosh. What did that man look like? I'd love to know. After Ukraine invasion, King proposed plugging staff shortages with war refugees or the elderly. You can't be serious. At one point, half of the staff were on minimum wage. Oh my goodness. So the king appeared in a circlet of feathers and a scarf draped ceremoniously around the shoulders of his cream suit. It was a nod to the traditional cultures and forms of healing that underpins his inaugural Harmony Summit at Highgrove last weekend, an event attended by Indigenous tribesmen, herbalists, and craftspeople. There could have been no more fitting backdrop to the event than the gardens at his 9-bedroom residence in Gloucestershire. For 45 years, Highgrove has served as a laboratory for the king's belief that humanity should work with nature, not against her. He still regularly spends time at the house, tending to the exotic flowers and plants that are his pride and joy. Yet, as sacred smoke spiraled over the apple trees, elders read spiritual incantations to honor Mother Earth, and the Amazon Prime documentary cameras weird, an inconvenient truth was hidden. For despite the king's pronouncements, life at the gardens has at times been far from harmonious. In summer of 2021, Charles signed a deal to preserve his influence over the property when he became king, a legal and technical necessity, as it was due to be inherited by his son, William. Since then, he has remained involved on the most minute level, supervising everything from the size of peaches to the shade of roses. See, this is what they preoccupy themselves with. Not actually creating impact in wider communities, keeping up with their roses in their gardens that are maintained by gardeners who are paid minimum wage. Thank you so much, Kevon Slim, for the donation. You said, I saw an old interview of Boris Johnson by Camilla Tominey where he was praising the excellence and brilliance of Harry and Meghan, and she had the most sour look on her face. Of course she would. Because Boris knows what these royal rotarats are about. He's a piece of work himself, don't get me wrong, and so is his sister. But he knows those same rotarats have probably written a thing or two about him too. Thank you also, V, for being a member for 5 months. Yay! Thank you for being part of the club, V. Thanks to both of you. Okay. So he does this by attending walkabouts at the property, then sending notes in thick red ink to garden staff who are expected to act before his next return. Don't put that man in front of me again! The memos are often strikingly specific and emotionally demanding. For instance, that staff move a single unacceptable ragwort from the perimeter of his swimming pool, telling them their failure to cultivate his beloved delphiums has caused an almighty disappointment and spoilt one of his favorite moments of the summer, and even correcting grammar. I tell you, these people are pathetic. These people are pathetic. Others are more positive. Charles expressing his giddy delight at the progress of a particular specimen, or fixing several exclamation marks to an upbeat comment. In the background, the king has entrusted a manager to become his go-to between the gardens, many of whom say his requests are impossible to fulfill given the lack of resources. Others have complained of poor conditions, including pay as low as minimum wage. Charles is shielded from some of these issues, but not all. He was sufficiently aware of staff problems that, after the invasion of Ukraine, he dashed off a note proposing that war refugees could be recruited to help out. So, first and foremost, that is so low and just out of whack. Thinking that people who are currently going through the most traumatic experience any human would ever go through, literally being a war refugee, the fact that you would think to enlist vulnerable people, that is horrific. But then also that you wouldn't think to just maybe hire local British people and give them decent paying jobs. Anyway, of 12 full-time gardeners employed in 2022, 11 have left, including 2 heads of gardens and a deputy head gardener who worked within the space for a year. One had served the king for decades, another failed his probation after revealing a lack of knowledge about a particular flower, instantly losing Charles's trust. Oh, if you don't have knowledge about a particular flower, you lose Charles's trust. But if you're friends with Jeffrey Epstein, we put you front and center at the Easter church walkabout. The monarch said of him, don't put that man in front of me again. In 2023, one staffer launched a grievance against the gardener's management, saying the team was overwhelmed, under-resourced, and constantly struggling to fulfill the king's request. So all of that tax money that they're getting, or all of the money from the duchy that they're getting, where is that going? I mean, not that I think that it should be, going to keep up expensive gardens that the public don't even always get to enjoy. But at the very least, you'd think it would be, making sure the roses are trimmed properly. His complaint said staff had developed physical injuries to keep up and that the team suffered from low morale. It added, there is little management of His Majesty the King's expectations, and I know I would not be allowed to say we were understaffed. It's interesting they can get all this information from these staff members now, but they sure are silent when it comes to defending Harry and Meghan, speaking the truth. That's how you know this whole thing is just a cheap shot at Charles from someone within the palace. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you get the idea. Someone in the palace has decided that it wants to attempt a hit piece against Charles. This is the best that they could come up with, I guess. Oh dear. Thank you to Ellen Vernon being a member for 33 months. Thank you. Dawn, you said, I thought it was known that Charles is a bully. Well, I think that people who don't necessarily read the tabloids know this, but people who are very much ingrained with the royal propaganda probably didn't know this. To be honest, this is, aside from maybe a few mentions in documentaries years back, one or two people who write about the royal family in books. There's that famous book that somebody wrote about Charles years ago. Aside from that, this is actually the first time I'm seeing an article like this, more recently anyway, especially since Meghan came into the fold. You wouldn't typically see things like this. And that's why I think that this is some kind of palace infighting. They had to find something. This is the best that they could come up with, I guess. Hilarious. Okay. I also wanted to mention a few articles that were going around about Harry and Meghan coming back. Please just remember, anytime that we go down this road, and I feel like we go down it at least every other 3 weeks. It's just the tabloids. They want to drum up headlines. They're desperate for Harry and Meghan to come back. But why would Meghan subject herself to such a ridiculous amount of bullying and vitriol? And why would Harry abandon his wife and kids? It's just nonsense. They've got nothing to gain by coming back. It's interesting also that this so-called summit and the pictures were leaked by the Daily Mail, and again by the Daily Mail, a so-called exclusive that Harry and Meghan have no plans to move back. Remember that Charles and Camilla have people working in the palace who are former editors of the Daily Mail. Another obsession that the palace has with Harry and Meghan going back is their money. I think initially when Harry and Meghan left, there was doubt around how they were going to make money. I think it was obvious that they were going to be able to sustain some kind of living, but I think they were unsure of whether or not they would be able to sustain their living and make enough money to pay for private security. And so there's always been an obsession with the amount of money that they're making, whether or not they can sustain their lifestyles. And that's why we saw all of the attacks towards anyone. And we still see it now, but it wasn't as bad as before. The attacks towards anybody linked to Harry and Meghan. Just vitriol being thrown at them to the point where Harry and Meghan's people have to warn anyone who works with them. I think now people can see the benefits of having Harry and Meghan attached to their brand, especially Meghan. I feel like we saw it from the very beginning because we saw past the smear campaign. But I think now that people can see the benefits, that far outweighs the tantrums that the trolls throw, and they get bored after 10 minutes anyway. So they haven't managed to affect Harry and Meghan's earning potential. If anything, the earning potential has gone up. Because everything they touch turns into a conversation, and that conversation turns into gold. All right. Wanda, thank you so much for being a member for 6 months, and Kathy G for being a member for 40 months. Wow, Kathy G. Thank you. Appreciate all of you so much. Heather, it's known that Charles is a bully, by the way he's treated. Yeah, I guess also that. It's just, it's not so much that people didn't know, it's just like the way it's written about. Because even though we know that Charles was the bully, the narrative became Diana was, paranoid and troublesome. Charles was just in love with Camilla. He wasn't a bad man. So it's not that we don't know, it's the way the narrative was printed, right? Thank you so much, Tamiko, for reminding everyone. Yes, please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Lady, you know this came from William. He's angry about that meeting. I mean, angry about what? It seemed like a pretty routine meeting to me, unless something came from that meeting that has made him unhappy. Maybe this is a sign that there was something that Harry wanted and that Harry got. Probably not security, but maybe something. Red Label, you said, well. So all of the articles about Harry and Meghan's staff changes were projections to distract from Chucky's poor garden staff mistreatment. And you know what? You know that it's not just about the garden staff. It's definitely not just about the garden staff. Okay, last couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Trump is coming to the UK, state visit 17th to the 19th of September. And it is very likely that they will have Trump at the state banquet. Also, pay attention to who shows up at the state banquet. That should be interesting. I mean, right now, it's dangerous to even enter the US. You don't know if they're going to check your phone. There are people that have been detained. They're looking at having, you have to declare some of your social media accounts when you come. Also, there is some interesting chatter surrounding Trump's health. Now, I've been very suspicious that his health has been in decline for some time. I mean, just the way he talks can tell you that. But also, now it's just the way he's looking. And I noticed more recently that he is looking even more orange than usual. He stands very funny. There are bulges under his clothes. He's always been rather incoherent, but it's gotten worse and worse. If you compare Trump now to Trump, in the 80s, Trump in the 80s and 90s was still a relative, slick talker. Simpleton and not particularly smart, but slick enough that he had people fooled that he was a decent businessman. Now, of course, he wasn't. He was a complete fraud, but it's, common sense ain't that common. It's easy to fool people. Now, he just rambles and waffles nonsense. It's not even like smart con man nonsense. It's a con man who's had his tongue chopped off nonsense. And according to this article, Celeb Bitchy, Donald Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency. Now, this is going to make the state visit even more interesting. I mean, we don't want him here, but I think America deserves 5 minutes to breathe. And if he's going to come here, please bring on the foolishness. So at least we have something to laugh at. I mean, last time he was standing in front of the Queen, while the Queen was trying to walk when she was still alive. So the article says, if you ask me, Donald Trump's health issues have been in significant decline for years. I agree. But the decline accelerated throughout the 2024 campaign, and he's looked bigly terrible all of this year. In recent months, there have been photos of Trump standing awkwardly with weird bulges on his legs. His color is ashen and pale. That's why they keep adding more and more orange clown makeup to his face. He's turned up at events with mysterious bruises on his hands as well. Plus, he's completely out of it in many of his appearances. I've said from the very, very beginning of this campaign that Donald Trump is not the president of the United States. The crooked billionaires who funded him are running the United States. The Elons, the Peter Tills, all of these people that have their agendas and they have America on puppet strings. That was true last year as well. The media tried their best to prop up this fascist, but every time he opened his mouth, the craziest and most senile-ish came pouring out. Well, in recent days, photographers have gotten close-ups of his effed up hands and his hugely swollen ankles. My first thought was diabetes, but honestly, I'm not a doctor and it could be a million different things. What was remarkable was how little conversation there was, how little reporting on Trump's health and his visible ailments. There's also something going on at CBS with the Late Show, where the Late Show with Stephen Colbert has just kind of been randomly cancelled, and that the rumor is that this actually has something to do with the fact that Colbert called out one of the networks for basically coddling Trump, and that's the real reason why. And I think the Screenwriters Guild is getting involved because the reason that they gave for cancelling was that the Stephen Colbert show is not like financially viable, which doesn't make sense because ratings are fine. In fact, they've been getting better recently. So it just shows you how fragile Trump and his people are. They're even trying to shut down talk show hosts now. Anyway, it goes on to say, considering Joe Biden's I was just going to say, but it also shows you just how they're willing to go after anyone who wants to speak the truth or speak out against this regime, is what I'm calling it. Considering Joe Biden's age and debate cold was a months-long story which changed the course of history, you would think that the Beltway media would devote just a fraction of energy to the gibbering fascist moron with tree trunk ankles, you know? Well, someone finally made Trump see a doctor, and now we have a diagnosis: chronic venous insufficiency. Trump was examined for swelling in his legs and has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, the White House announced. I think it's got to be more than that. Trump, 79, underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies with the White House's medical unit. A letter was later released, and this is apparently a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. I don't believe that's just what it is. The examination came after Trump had noted mild swelling in his lower legs. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis in Trump's lab testing, no sign of heart failure, renal impairment. Okay, that I definitely don't believe, because there was one rumor that he had one of those like urinal sac things going on under his trousers. So they're basically trying to say no alarm here. Well, he sounds like a blumbering fool. For someone in the overweight to obese category, which is where the president has always been. Anyway, I have no idea if we can trust this. No, we cannot. Trump's physicians have never been the best and brightest of the medical field. And his first-term doctor was basically a raging alcoholic who would say anything for a shot. I also think that they're trying to change the subject and gin up some sympathy for dear leader, especially because the MAGA faithful are still really pissed about the Jeffrey Epstein story. Who knows? I certainly hope, yeah. Who knows? Because, listen, whatever you want to say, was Trump on the list? Was he not on the list? He was close with Epstein, either way. Very close. Supposedly, Epstein is the reason him and Melania met. Melania clearly can't stand this man. Gosh, what a life. What a weirdo, wackadoo life these people live. And they're dragging everybody else into hell with them. Also, in other cheating idiots news, these two, you know, two adulterous individuals hugging at the Coldplay concert wasn't how I thought humanity was going to be united, but here we are. I mean, I don't think we've been this united since Luigi pulled out his Glock. There have been so many memes written about this, literally the worst. And you know what's annoying me? People who are defending these two individuals, especially those who are defending the man, are like, oh, it was a private moment. Excuse me? They were literally at a concert. They were brazen with their cheating. Brazen. Insane. Like, man, in this social media age, you're playing with fire. You are playing with fire. Now, he has resigned. Her picture, they've actually replaced him with someone else. And this is a lesson in always be ready, because the guy who's been replaced as the new CEO, he probably wasn't expecting this week. So then now the company that he was working for, or they were both working for, has a new CEO. Her profile, because she was HR, which makes this even more insane, her profile is still there. I would put money on this guy getting a job in the Trump administration. That'll be the next announcement. He will be fine. His demographic are always fine, even when they do stuff like this. She'll probably get the worst end of the stick, for being a woman. Not that she should escape any accountability. I'm just saying that usually in these situations, women fare worse. Especially being that she was a HR professional. Where do you even go after this? Anywho, I think that's all I had to say for today's podcast. So happy that I actually managed to do one. So happy to sit here with you all on this fine Sunday. Okay, I'm going to go through your comments and then we will wrap things up. Yeah, Joseph, never complain, never explain, but leak like a sieve and protect the firm. Heather, you said, in my opinion, the monarchy lost its usefulness the day they refused Sussex's security. I mean, I think they lost it well before then. But yeah, that was like the final nail in the hammer for people who were holding out hope that the monarchy would change or do better. Red Label, you said, if Meghan ever decides to write a book about her treatment behind the palace walls, it would be game, set, match for the firm and that family. I think this is what really scares them the most. They are terrified of this. I think that Meghan will write a book. Let me just say that. I just don't know about timing or when that book would ever actually come out. Because right now she's building her brand. I think if she was to release a book, it would, first of all, cause chaos. Chaos in the press for her. And I don't think Meghan wants that right now. Because she's just so at peace and focused on her brand. And then people would start saying, oh, but she's talking about the royal family again, even though she has the right to. So do I think Meghan will write a book if a book hasn't already been written or if it's continuously being written? Yes, I do. I don't see that book coming out anytime soon. I think it will be years to come before that book ever comes out, even if it's written. And we know that Meghan likes to journal. We know that Harry and Meghan have been keeping video journals. We know that they send, the emails to the kids and everything. I think that book's already been written, if you ask me. V, you said the palace thought they could sabotage all projects that Sussex has attempted, so they couldn't have the ability to earn a living. They thought all of their resources would be eaten up by security costs. Yes. They said California is expensive. My guess is more expensive to live in than the UK. Maybe, especially if you're living a very luxurious lifestyle and paying. I hear Californian taxes are very high. Gwendolyn, they say he really smells awful. Trump wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me at all. It's giving he needs to be bathed if he does bathe, but I'm not sure he does. Mina, you said also for people outside of the US, they have to pay $200 for a visa. Wow. I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to the World Cup and the Olympics. What are they going to do? I was actually really excited when I heard that Los Angeles was going to be the host for the Olympics. I've never had the opportunity. I didn't get to when the Olympics was in London to see the gymnastics, and Simone Biles is my favorite gymnast. And I was really excited about the possibility, of seeing American gymnasts in the US because they're just the best. And that's probably going to be Simone's last Olympics. So in my mind, I was like, I'm booking the flights to LA. We're going to see Simone Biles final Olympics. And now I'm just like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am terrified. It just seems too risky. There's also a plastic surgeon in Las Vegas that I'm interested in seeing, but I'm gonna have to wait until this orange monster is out of office because you just can't risk it. Resistors, you said, as an American, I say to all my European friends, don't come here. Don't risk getting put in a detention center. You know, having said that, I have actually had a couple of friends go. Two friends actually, who went to Texas. One who's a travel content creator, so maybe because that was on her visa, that got her in quite easily. But another who was just, going to visit his family who live in Texas. So they managed to get in absolutely fine with no trouble. But yeah, Trump's visit to the UK is going to be interesting. Like I said, you said Trump definitely has a cardiac disease. You think? He's definitely got more than what they're saying he has. Hi, Mush. Yes, I'm here. Wow, we're live. Like I said, he's a number one late show. Exactly. That's how you know something is going on. Yeah, the doctor is not being honest. Colbert is on CBS, and he criticized CBS owner Paramount for settling Trump's lawsuit for multi-millions. Yes, that was it. Thank you, resistors. That's what it seems like, which is just awful if that's the case, because now they're censoring people. Yes, Heather, Trump is a puppet. Republicans have wrecked the economy as usual, but on steroids this time. There's definitely a lot of MAGA folks who are having buyer's regret. There was one lady in Florida I saw who was praising Trump, and then was it Florida or Texas where they had the floods? Sorry. Anyway, she lived in one of the states where they've been having floods, and now she was crying about it, crying about, oh, we're human, we need help. But the very foundations that would help in that situation, the person you voted in has been taking them away. Talk about buyer's remorse. Resistors, you said the cancellation of Colbert was politically motivated. I wouldn't be surprised if it was part of the lawsuit settlement. 100% agree. 100% it was politically motivated. And what's so interesting is that these late night talk shows, they are entertainment. They're not really news in terms of CNN or CBS, like MSNBC news. They're entertainment talk shows, but they've been doing better journalistic work than the actual news, and in delivering it in a way that's still funny and relatable. And that's even though it's delivered in that way, obviously it's very threatening to someone and to some people. All right, just gonna get through your comments before we wrap up. Like said, I'm sorry, defending. Yeah, there've been people defending those two people who were having the affair, especially the man. It's more the man. Oh, how dare they? You know, he's a family man. I mean, she's also a family woman. She's married too. Wouldn't it be the greatest plot twist if their spouses were also cheating on them anyway? Plot twist. Yeah, Joseph, it's given the American emperor has no flaws, peasant. Nothing to see here. That's exactly what it's giving. Oh, can't wait for this hell to be over. And I don't even live in the US. I don't know how you lot are managing, how you lot feel. Prudence, those cheaters, time has come to an end on live television. Insane. Insane. God, just the worst way. Worst way to get caught out. And it also shows you, because apparently one of the people that was standing next to them also works in management at the company. So they were keeping this affair between the company quiet. Oh, shameful, 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 shameful. I believe in the sanctity of marriage, and it's people like this that cheapen marriage. Yeah, V, I don't think that the timing isn't right. Timing is not right at all. Now, from a PR perspective, I would personally say the best time for Meghan to release any type of book would be after the royals have their own scandals exposed. After that. Because then it will just be like, well, everybody can see things, hopefully, for what they are. And then Meghan's book will just be like, well, now you know that I wasn't the problem. It was these people. So I think from a PR perspective, the great timing would be after the other royals are exposed. And I think that day is coming. Because William he's gonna be a crazy ass king. Sisters, you said, I read an article that said the wife has been documenting his misbehaviors and will be using his public infidelity to get more money in the divorce. Apparently, the guy is worth 70 million or something. Also, people who used to work for him at another company said that he siphoned money from them through stock buys, and basically the company went bust and they were left high and dry. So, you know, people who cheat on their spouses cannot be counted on as business partners. Yeah, it was hilarious as she's trying to hide. If they hadn't had reacted like that, actually, it would have still come out, but I don't know if it would have gone as viral as it did, or as viral as quickly. Yeah, Madison, there's a series of books that she can write. A series. Hear me, fan. Read Trump's visit to the UK. Some Americans apologize ahead of time. Oh, no need to apologize. I'm kind of ready for the chaos of it. We'll bring it on. Yeah, they will be protests, resistors. There's actually an organization that do these billboards and stuff around London, and they've put one up of Epstein and Trump like on bus stops. They've been doing that. Yeah, Mina, this is the lady who I was talking about, the MAGA supporter who's having buyer's remorse. She was making fun of a woman who was losing her food stamps, and she didn't care. Yeah. Um, okay. Madison, you said, I think they are more likely to release another book once William is king, so they have more leverage. By they, do you maybe mean Harry? I mean, there's a whole, apparently there's what, 400 spare pages or something that we never saw. Okay, I'm gonna wrap things up there. Thank you as always, everyone. Thank you everyone for donating, all the new members who have stuck around. Appreciate you so much. Just a reminder, you can also get membership on Buy Me a Coffee. All right, I'm not going to play the outro. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. Appreciate you all. And yes, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the podcast, I am trying to get back on doing podcasts more frequently every day without excuses. All right, ciao.